Welcome to Infidelity Tales Lab. Before we dive into today's story, we have a humble request. Please consider subscribing to this new channel. Help us hit our first milestone of 1,000 subscribers. Your support will motivate us to keep bringing you more exclusive, original cheating wife stories. And now, let's get started with today's story. Ryan Butler's shoes clicked against the pavement as he approached his house, briefcase in hand. The setting sun cast long shadows across the manicured lawn, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of blooming jasmine. After a grueling week-long business trip, all Ryan wanted was to embrace his wife Hannah and relax in the comfort of their home. As he neared the front door, Hannah's voice drifted through an open window. Ryan paused, his hand hovering over the doorknob. Something in her tone made him hesitate. After he inherits her parents' estate, I'll push for a divorce. I just need that money first. He's too stupid to see it coming. The words sliced through the air like a knife, shattering Ryan's world in an instant. He recognized the other voice as Whitney, Hannah's best friend. Blood roared in his ears as his mind raced, connecting dots he'd previously ignored. Late nights at work that left Hannah smelling of unfamiliar cologne. Mysterious text messages that made her smile secretively. Her sudden, pressing interest in his family's finances. It all made sickening sense now. Ryan's jaw clenched, his grip tightening on his briefcase until his knuckles turned white. Years of love and trust crumbled around him, replaced by a cold, burning rage. But as quickly as the anger flared, it was tempered by something else, determination. Taking a deep breath, Ryan forced his features into a mask of normalcy. He wouldn't give Hannah the satisfaction of knowing she'd blindsided him. No, he'd play her game, and he'd win. With deliberate casualness, Ryan opened the front door. "Honey, I'm home," he called out, his voice betraying none of the turmoil within. Hannah appeared in the hallway, her golden hair perfectly styled and her smile dazzling. To anyone else, she would have looked like the picture of a devoted wife. But now, Ryan saw through the facade to the predator beneath. "Ryan, you're back early," Hannah exclaimed, crossing the room to plant a kiss on his cheek. The gesture, once cherished, now felt like poison against his skin. "Thought I'd surprise you," Ryan replied, forcing a smile. "Is that Whitney I hear?" Hannah's eyes flickered with something, surprise, worry, before her mask slipped back into place. "Yes, she just stopped by for a chat." "Whitney, come say hello." As Whitney entered the room, her forced smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Ryan noticed the way she glanced at Hannah, a silent exchange passing between them. "Welcome home, Ryan," Whitney said, her voice overly cheerful. "How was your trip?" "Productive," Ryan answered, studying her carefully. How long had she been complicit in Hannah's deception? "But I'm glad to be back. Nothing beats home, right?" Hannah laughed, a tinkling sound that now grated on Ryan's nerves. "Of course, darling. Why don't you go freshen up? I'll start on dinner." Ryan nodded, heading upstairs to the bedroom. As he set down his briefcase, he could hear Hannah and Whitney's hushed voices from below. No doubt they were scrambling to cover their tracks. That night, as Hannah slept beside him, Ryan lay awake, his mind churning. The woman he'd loved, the life he'd built, it had all been a lie. But two could play a deception. With practiced stealth, Ryan slipped out of bed and retrieved Hannah's phone from her purse. Years of marriage had made him privy to her password, a fact she'd clearly overlooked in her scheming. The screen illuminated, casting an eerie glow in the darkened room. Ryan's fingers moved swiftly, navigating through messages and emails. What he found made his stomach churn. A trove of incriminating messages between Hannah and Bobby Barnard filled the screen. Bobby, the smooth-talking real estate agent Ryan had considered a friend. Their exchanges were filled with passionate declarations, clandestine meeting plans, and worst of all, discussions of their future together. A future built on the ruins of Ryan's life. Ryan's free hand clenched into a fist, his nails digging into his palm. The betrayal cut deep, but he forced himself to keep reading. Each message was a weapon, ammunition for the battle to come. As the first light of dawn crept through the windows, Ryan replaced the phone exactly as he'd found it. He slipped back into bed, his mind racing with plans. Hannah stirred beside him, mumbling in her sleep. Once, he would have pulled her close. Now, her touch made his skin crawl. Ryan closed his eyes, feigning sleep, but inside a fire had been lit. Hannah and Bobby had declared war, and he intended to emerge victorious. The following day, Ryan stood on his parents' front porch, his knuckles poised to knock. The quaint suburban home looked much as it always had. His mother's prized roses blooming in the front garden, his father's vintage Chevy parked in the driveway. But now, even this familiar setting felt tainted by Hannah's machinations. Taking a steadying breath, Ryan rapped on the door. Moments later, it swung open to reveal his mother, Eleanor Butler. Her face lit up at the sight of him, but Ryan couldn't help noticing the new lines around her eyes, the slight tremor in her hands. "Ryan, what a lovely surprise," Eleanor exclaimed, pulling him into a hug. Come in, come in. Your father will be so pleased to see you." As Ryan followed her into the living room, he took in the subtle signs of his parents' declining health. The new handrails along the walls, the prescribed pill bottles lined up on the kitchen counter. His heart clenched, knowing Hannah had taken advantage of their vulnerability. George Butler sat in his favorite armchair, a thick blanket draped over his legs despite the warm weather. He looked up as Ryan entered, his eyes brightening with recognition. "There's my boy," George said, his voice weaker than Ryan remembered. "To what do we owe this visit?" Ryan plastered on a smile, taking a seat across from his father. "Just thought I'd check in, see how you both are doing. I've been so caught up with work lately, I feel like I've been neglecting you." Eleanor patted his hand. "Nonsense, dear. We know how busy you are. Besides, Hannah's been so helpful lately. She visits often, helps with the groceries, even assisted us with some financial paperwork." Ryan's jaw tightened at the mention of Hannah's name, but he maintained his composure. "Oh, that's thoughtful of her. What kind of paperwork?" George waved a hand dismissively. "Oh, just some updates to the will and such. Hannah mentioned it might be wise to review things, given our health situation. She's been a godsend, really." The pieces clicked into place, and Ryan felt a surge of anger. Hannah had manipulated his parents into changing their will, likely leaving everything to her instead of Ryan. The sheer audacity of her betrayal left him momentarily speechless. Swallowing hard, Ryan leaned forward. "Dad, Mom, I think it might be a good idea for us to visit your lawyer together, just to make sure everything's in order." Eleanor looked concerned. "Is something wrong, dear?" Ryan shook his head, forcing a reassuring smile. "Not at all. I just want to make sure all your affairs are in order, given your health concerns. It would give me peace of mind." After a moment's hesitation, George nodded. "That's probably wise, son. We can go tomorrow if you're free." "Perfect," Ryan said, already formulating his plan. "I'll pick you up in the morning." The next day, Ryan sat beside his parents in the austere office of Jerome Hawkins, the family's longtime lawyer. The elderly attorney peered at them over his wire-rimmed glasses, a look of concern etched on his face. "Now, Mr. and Mrs. Butler," Hawkins began, "I understand you wish to review the changes made to your will last month?" George nodded. "Yes, that's right. Our daughter-in-law, Hannah, suggested some updates." Ryan leaned forward. "Mr. Hawkins, could you please outline those changes for us?" As the lawyer detailed the alterations, Ryan watched the color drain from his parents' faces. The entire estate, the house, savings, even his father's beloved Chevy, had been left to Hannah, with Ryan receiving only a token sum. "But that can't be right," Eleanor stammered, looking at George in confusion. "We would never cut Ryan out like that." Ryan gently took his mother's hand. "It's okay, Mom. I think Hannah might have misrepresented some things when she helped you with this." George's face hardened, a glimpse of his former strength shining through. "Hawkins, I want these changes reversed immediately. Everything goes back to Ryan, as we originally intended." As the lawyer busied himself with the paperwork, he shot Ryan a knowing look. "Mr. Butler, Ryan, may I have a word in private?" Once they were alone, Hawkins leaned in close. "I've known your family for years, son. Something doesn't smell right about all this. You do well to protect yourself." Ryan nodded grimly. "I intend to, Mr. Hawkins. I intend to." The offices of Blackstone Investigations stood in stark contrast to Ryan's usual haunts. where his world was one of sleek modernity and architectural precision. This place exuded an air of gritty determination. The faded lettering on the frosted glass door read, Maxwell King, Private Investigator. Ryan straightened his tie before knocking. A gruff voice called out, Enter. Inside, he found a man who looked like he'd stepped out of a noir film. Maxwell King was all sharp angles and shrewd eyes, his desk cluttered with files and a half-empty bottle of whiskey. Mr. Butler, King said, gesturing to a chair. What can I do for you? Ryan sat, his posture rigid. I need evidence of my wife's infidelity. Photos, recordings, anything that'll hold up in court. King's eyebrow arched. Divorce case, eh? Nasty business. You have no idea, Ryan muttered. He slid a folder across the desk. This is everything I know about her affair, locations, times, the other man's information. I need concrete proof, and I need it fast. The investigator leafed through the documents, letting out a low whistle. Your wife's not just cheating. This looks like a full-blown conspiracy. Ryan's jaw clenched. Exactly. That's why I need the best. Money is no object. A slow smile spread across King's face. Well then, Mr. Butler, let's get to work. As Ryan left the office, his phone buzzed. A message from his project manager. Client meeting in 30. Harcourt account. Crucial. Ryan cursed under his breath. With everything happening in his personal life, he'd almost forgotten about the Harcourt project, a multi-million-dollar development that could make or break his career. Pushing thoughts of Hannah aside, Ryan threw himself into work. The following weeks became a delicate balancing act. By day, he was the consummate professional, wowing clients with innovative designs and attention to detail. By night, he meticulously built his case against Hannah. The Harcourt project consumed his days. Ryan poured every ounce of his creativity and expertise into the designs, impressing the clients with his dedication. In client meetings, he was focused and charismatic, never letting on that his personal life was in shambles. I've never seen work like this, Mr. Harcourt said during one presentation, his eyes wide as he examined the 3D renderings. It's like you've read my mind, Butler. Ryan allowed himself a small smile. I believe in fully understanding my clients' visions, Mr. Harcourt. This project isn't just a job for me, it's a passion. As he drove home that evening, Ryan felt a flicker of his old confidence. He may have been blindsided in his personal life, but professionally, he was still at the top of his game. The moment he walked through the front door, however, reality came crashing back. Hannah was waiting for him, a concerned look plastered on her face. Darling, you've been working so hard lately, she cooed, running a hand down his arm. I've barely seen you. Is everything all right? Ryan forced himself to lean into her touch, suppressing a shudder. Just a big project, that's all. Nothing to worry about. Hannah's eyes narrowed almost imperceptibly. Well, I think you need a break. I've arranged a dinner tomorrow night with Bobby and Whitney. A nice, friendly gathering to help you unwind. For a moment, Ryan marveled at her audacity. Dinner with her lover and accomplice? But he quickly schooled his features into a grateful smile. That sounds wonderful, honey. Thank you for thinking of me. As Hannah turned away, satisfied, Ryan allowed himself a grim smile. Little did she know, she just handed him the perfect opportunity. The next evening, Ryan found himself seated across from Bobby Barnard at an upscale restaurant. The real estate agent was every bit as smooth in person as he was in Hannah's messages. All white teeth and practiced charm. Ryan, my man, Bobby exclaimed, clapping him on the shoulder. It's been too long. How's work treating you? Ryan plastered on a smile, acutely aware of the recording device hidden in his jacket pocket. Can't complain. How about you, Bobby? Any exciting deals in the works? Bobby's eyes lit up, his ego clearly unable to resist the bait. Oh, you know me? Always got something cooking. In fact, I've got some insider knowledge on a few prime properties coming to market soon. As Bobby launched into a detailed account of his allegedly exclusive real estate leads, Ryan noticed Hannah shooting warning glances at her lover. But Bobby, caught up in his own perceived brilliance, failed to notice. Whitney, for her part, seemed increasingly uncomfortable as the evening wore on. She laughed too loudly at Bobby's jokes and kept glancing nervously between Hannah and Ryan. As the meal progressed, Ryan played his role to perfection, the oblivious, trusting husband. He laughed at Bobby's jokes, complimented Hannah's choice of restaurant, and skillfully steered the conversation towards topics that would incriminate the adulterous couple. By the time dessert arrived, Ryan had a wealth of recorded evidence, from Bobby's boasts about insider trading to Hannah's thinly veiled references to their affair. As he raised his glass in a toast, Ryan allowed himself to feel a glimmer of satisfaction. The game was far from over, but he just scored a major victory. Hannah and Bobby thought they were playing chess, but they'd find out soon enough that Ryan was several moves ahead. The sleek office of Jake Mason, renowned divorce attorney, exuded an air of calculated ruthlessness. Ryan Butler sat across from Mason, his posture rigid and eyes sharp. The lawyer's reputation for leaving spouses penniless preceded him, and that's exactly what Ryan needed. Mason leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. "So, Mr. Butler, you want to leave your wife with nothing? I can arrange that, but I need to know everything." Ryan nodded, his voice steady. "Hannah's been planning this for years. She manipulated my parents, tried to steal my inheritance, and she's having an affair with Bobby Barnard, the real estate agent." Mason's eyebrow arched. "Interesting. What evidence do you have?" Ryan produced a flash drive. "Recordings, text messages, financial records. But there's more. I've discovered Hannah's been siphoning money from our joint accounts." Mason's eyes glinted with interest. "Now we're talking. How much?" "Thousands, possibly more. I need your help to track it all down." The lawyer nodded, a predatory smile spreading across his face. "Leave it to me, Mr. Butler. We'll make sure Hannah regrets the day she crossed you." Over the next few weeks, Ryan and Mason meticulously built their case. Using his connections, Ryan traced the money trail, uncovering a web of deceit that ran deeper than he'd imagined. One evening, as Ryan pored over financial documents in his home office, a name caught his eye: Butler and Barnard Architects. His blood ran cold as he realized the full extent of Hannah and Bobby's betrayal. They weren't just planning to take his money, they were going to steal his entire career. The documents detailed plans for a rival architecture firm, using Ryan's stolen designs and client list. Ryan's hands clenched, crumpling the paper. The audacity of their scheme fueled his resolve. He would not only protect himself, but destroy their plans entirely. At home, Ryan maintained a facade of normalcy. He smiled at Hannah, engaged in small talk, all while his mind cataloged every interaction. Hidden cameras installed discreetly throughout the house captured Hannah's clandestine meetings with Bobby. Hannah sauntered into the kitchen one evening, her smile sickly sweet. "Darling, I was thinking we should redecorate the living room. What do you think?" Ryan looked up from his laptop, his face a mask of casual interest. "Sounds great, honey. Whatever you think is best." As Hannah launched into her ideas, Ryan nodded along, all while the camera hidden in the vase on the counter recorded her every word. Later, he would review the footage, noting any slips or inconsistencies in her behavior. The Butler family home, once a sanctuary of warmth and love, now felt like a battlefield to Ryan. As he approached the front door, steeling himself for the confrontation ahead, he couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness for what had been lost. Kimberly, his younger sister, opened the door. Her usual warm smile was replaced by a cool, almost hostile expression. "Ryan, what are you doing here?" Ryan stepped inside, his voice level. "We need to talk, Kim. It's important." In the living room, tension crackled in the air. Kimberly stood with her arms crossed, defiance written across her face. "If you're here to make excuses for how you've been treating Hannah, save it. She's told me everything." Ryan's jaw clenched, but he kept his composure. "Has she? And what exactly has she told you?" "That you're neglectful, cruel even. That you're trying to cut her out of the family inheritance." "How could you, Ryan? After everything she's done for Mom and Dad." For a moment, Ryan marveled at Hannah's ability to spin such elaborate lies. Then, without a word, he placed a folder on the coffee table between them. "What's this?" Kimberly asked, suspicion lacing her voice. "The truth," Ryan replied simply. "Everything Hannah's been hiding. Her affair with Bobby, her attempts to manipulate our parents, the money she's been stealing. It's all there." Kimberly's hand trembled as she reached for the folder. As she read, Her face paled, eyes widening in shock and disbelief. This can't be true, she whispered. I'm afraid it is, Kim. Hannah's been playing us all. Tears welled in Kimberly's eyes as the full weight of the deception hit her. Oh God, Ryan, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I've been helping her, telling her about the family finances, about your work schedule. I thought I was helping you both. Ryan moved to sit beside his sister, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. It's not your fault, Kim. Hannah fooled all of us. But now, I need your help to make this right. Kimberly looked up, determination replacing the shock in her eyes. Anything. What do you need me to do? As Ryan outlined his plan, Kimberly listened intently, her loyalty to her brother fully restored. Together, they would gather more evidence, strengthening the case against Hannah and Bobby. Meanwhile, at work, Ryan faced a new challenge. Client meetings were mysteriously canceled, crucial documents went missing, and rumors began to circulate about his reliability. Ryan sat in his office, frustration mounting as he received yet another email about a postponed meeting. The pieces clicked into place. This had Bobby written all over it. Determination set in. Ryan wouldn't let these petty sabotage attempts derail him. He reached for his phone, dialing a client whose meeting had been canceled. Mr. Harcourt? Ryan Butler here. I wanted to personally apologize for any confusion regarding our meeting. What's that? You never canceled? I see. Well, I'm glad I called. How about we meet for dinner tonight to discuss the project? One by one, Ryan reached out to his clients, smoothing over misunderstandings and reaffirming his commitment to their projects. He worked late into the night, recreating lost documents and refining designs. Each attempt to undermine him only strengthened Ryan's resolve. He would not only survive this challenge, but emerge stronger, leaving Hannah and Bobby's schemes in ruins. The real estate office was quiet as Ryan signed the final papers. The sale of their house, his house now, was complete, the funds safely transferred to a secure account Hannah couldn't touch. The realtor, a colleague of Bobby's, looked uncomfortable, clearly aware of the situation but bound by professional discretion. Congratulations, Mr. Butler, she said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Is there anything else you need? Ryan stood, his face impassive. No, thank you. I think that covers everything. As he left the office, Ryan felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Another piece of the puzzle was in place. He pulled out his phone, dialing his bank. This is Ryan Butler. I need to close all joint accounts immediately. Yes, I understand the implications. Please proceed. Back at the house, Hannah was waiting, a look of forced concern on her face. Ryan, darling, we need to talk. You've been so distant lately. I'm worried about you. Ryan steeled himself, plastering on a weary smile. I'm sorry, Hannah. Work's been stressful. Maybe you're right. We should talk. Hannah's eyes lit up, a predatory gleam that Ryan now recognized all too well. I've been thinking. We both need a break. How about a romantic getaway? Just the two of us? For a moment, Ryan marveled at her audacity. Even now, she was trying to manipulate him, to delay the inevitable. But two could play at that game. That sounds wonderful, honey. Where did you have in mind? As Hannah launched into her plans for their trip, Ryan nodded along, all while mentally preparing for the final act of this charade. Little did Hannah know, this romantic getaway would be the last nail in the coffin of their marriage. The resort was picturesque, all crystal-clear waters and pristine beaches. Hannah played the role of the doting wife to perfection, hanging on Ryan's every word, arranging romantic dinners, and showering him with affection. Ryan reciprocated, forcing himself to smile, to touch her, all while silently counting down the hours. He knew the truth. This was Hannah's last-ditch effort to secure her claim on his inheritance. On their third night, as they sat on their private balcony watching the sunset, Ryan's phone buzzed. The message he'd been dreading and expecting in equal measure had arrived. Ryan's face paled as he read the text, his hands shaking slightly. Hannah, ever the opportunist, pounced. Ryan? What's wrong? Has something happened? He looked up, meeting her eyes. It's my parents. They're gone. Passed away in their sleep last night. For a split second, Hannah's mask slipped. A flash of triumph, quickly replaced by a poor facsimile of grief. "Oh, Ryan, I'm so sorry. How awful." As she moved to embrace him, Ryan caught the gleam in her eyes. There was no sadness there, no compassion, only barely concealed greed. In that moment, any lingering doubt Ryan might have harbored evaporated. Hannah had never loved him. He was nothing but a means to an end, a path to wealth and status. Ryan allowed himself to be held, his mind racing. The endgame was approaching. Soon, very soon, Hannah would learn the true cost of her betrayal. As they packed to return home, ostensibly to plan the funeral, Ryan watched Hannah flit about the room. She was practically vibrating with poorly concealed excitement, no doubt already planning how to spend her ill-gotten gains. "We should call the lawyer as soon as we get back," Hannah said, her voice dripping with false concern. "Make sure everything's in order with the will. You shouldn't have to worry about such things at a time like this." Ryan nodded, his face a mask of grief. "You're right. Thank you for thinking of everything, Hannah. I don't know what I'd do without you." The irony of his words was not lost on Ryan. Indeed, Hannah would soon learn exactly what life without him would be like, and it would be nothing like she'd planned. The Butler residence stood silent as Ryan pulled into the driveway. The facade of the house, once a symbol of his shared life with Hannah, now seemed like a hollow shell. He stepped out of the car, briefcase in hand, his face a mask of grim determination. Inside, Hannah bustled about, her voice carrying from the kitchen. "Ryan, is that you? I've been thinking about the funeral arrangements. We should probably—" Her words cut off abruptly as Ryan entered the room. He stood in the doorway, his posture rigid, eyes cold. In his hand, he held a thick envelope. Hannah's brow furrowed. "What's that?" Without a word, Ryan placed the envelope on the kitchen counter and slid it towards her. Hannah's manicured fingers trembled slightly as she opened it, her eyes widening as she scanned the contents. "Divorce papers?" Her voice rose, incredulous. "What is this, Ryan? Some kind of sick joke?" Ryan's voice was steady, devoid of emotion. "No joke, Hannah. I know everything." The color drained from Hannah's face, quickly replaced by a flush of anger. "Everything? What are you talking about?" "The affair with Bobby. The manipulation of my parents. Your plans to steal my inheritance, my clients, my entire career." Ryan's words were measured, each one landing like a blow. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" Hannah's shock quickly morphed into rage. She lunged forward, her perfectly manicured nails clawing at the air between them. "You can't do this to me. After everything I've done for you, for this family." Ryan stood his ground, unflinching in the face of her fury. "Everything you've done? You mean lie, cheat, and steal?" Hannah's tactic shifted, her voice taking on a pleading tone. "Ryan, please. You don't understand. I love you. We can work this out." But Ryan remained unmoved, his resolve unshakable. "Save it, Hannah. Your act might have worked before, but not anymore. It's over." Realizing the gravity of her situation, Hannah's demeanor changed once again. Her eyes narrowed, voice dropping to a menacing hiss. "You'll regret this, Ryan. I'll ruin you. By the time I'm done, you'll have nothing left." Ryan met her gaze, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "I don't think so, Hannah. You see, I've been preparing for this moment for quite some time. Every lie, every manipulation, every secret meeting with Bobby. I have it all documented." Hannah's face paled. She stumbled backward, groping for her phone on the counter. Her fingers shook as she dialed, her voice frantic when the call connected. "Bobby? Bobby, you need to come over right now." Ryan knows. He knows everything. Minutes later, the sound of screeching tires announced Bobby's arrival. He burst through the front door, his usual smooth demeanor replaced by barely contained panic. "What's going on?" Bobby demanded, looking between Hannah and Ryan. "What does he know?" Ryan calmly retrieved a small device from his pocket. With the press of a button, Bobby's own voice filled the room. "Once we get control of Ryan's firm, we'll have access to all his clients. Between that and Hannah's inheritance, we'll be set for life. That idiot won't know what hit him." Bobby's arrogance crumbled, replaced by fear. He looked at Hannah, then back at Ryan, his mouth opening and closing wordlessly. Ryan's voice was cold. I suggest you both talk to your lawyers. You're going to need them. As Hannah and Bobby stood shell-shocked, Ryan gathered his things. At the door, he paused, looking back at the two people who had betrayed him so deeply. I'll be staying elsewhere until the divorce is finalized. I suggest you do the same, Hannah. This house no longer belongs to either of us. With that, Ryan walked out, leaving Hannah and Bobby to face the wreckage of their failed scheme. The courthouse buzzed with activity as Ryan strode through the main entrance. His lawyer, Jake Mason, fell in a step beside him, briefcase swinging. Ready for this? Mason asked, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. Ryan nodded, his jaw set. More than ready. Let's end this. Inside the courtroom, Hannah and Bobby sat with their legal team, both looking significantly less polished than usual. Hannah's designer outfit couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes, while Bobby's usual confident smirk was nowhere to be seen. As the proceedings began, Hannah and Bobby's lawyers attempted to paint Ryan as the villain. They spun tales of neglect and emotional abuse, portraying Hannah as a devoted wife driven to desperation by her husband's cruelty. But Ryan and Mason were prepared. With meticulous precision, they dismantled each lie, presenting irrefutable evidence of Hannah and Bobby's deceit. Mason called their first witness, Kimberly, Ryan's sister. As she took the stand, Hannah's face paled. Kimberly's voice was steady as she recounted Hannah's manipulation. She told me Ryan was cruel, that he was trying to cut her out of the family. I believed her. I even helped her, telling her about our family finances. But it was all a lie. Hannah's lawyer attempted to discredit Kimberly, but her testimony stood firm. Next came a surprise witness, Whitney, Hannah's former best friend. Whitney avoided Hannah's accusatory glare as she spoke. I can't keep quiet anymore. Hannah and Bobby have been planning this for years. They were going to take everything from Ryan, his money, his business, everything. As witness after witness corroborated Ryan's claims, Hannah and Bobby's united front began to crumble. They exchanged accusatory glances, each clearly considering how to save themselves at the other's expense. The final blow came when Mason presented financial records showing how Hannah had siphoned money from joint accounts, along with detailed plans for the rival architecture firm she and Bobby had intended to start using Ryan's stolen designs. Hannah's composure finally broke. She stood up, pointing at Bobby. It was his idea. He convinced me to do it. I never wanted to hurt Ryan. Bobby, his face red with anger, shouted back. Don't try to pin this on me. You were the one who came up with the plan to manipulate his parents. The judge called for order as Hannah and Bobby continued to hurl accusations at each other, their relationship disintegrating in front of the entire courtroom. Through it all, Ryan sat calmly, his face impassive. He had known this moment would come, when the true nature of Hannah and Bobby's relationship would be revealed. As the day's proceedings came to a close, the judge's words hung in the air. In light of the overwhelming evidence presented, I have no choice but to rule in favor of Mr. Butler. The divorce is granted, with all assets to be divided as per the prenuptial agreement. Hannah's anguished cry echoed through the courtroom, but Ryan didn't flinch. He stood, buttoned his jacket, and walked out, leaving the chaos behind him. The judge's chambers were silent as Ryan sat across from his lawyer, Mason. The final paperwork lay on the desk between them, waiting for signatures. Congratulations, Mr. Butler, the judge said, sliding the documents towards Ryan. With my ruling, your divorce is finalized. As per the terms we've discussed, Mrs. Butler, or should I say, Ms. Reeves now, will receive no alimony or share of your assets due to her infidelity and financial misconduct. Ryan nodded, his pen hovering over the signature line. And what about the business? My designs? The judge smiled. The court has granted a permanent injunction against Ms. Reeves and Mr. Barnard. They are prohibited from using any of your designs or client information. Furthermore, Mr. Barnard is facing separate charges for his role in the financial fraud. With a steady hand, Ryan signed the papers. As he did, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders. It was done. Outside the courthouse, reporters clamored for a statement. Ryan stood at the top of the steps, Mason by his side. Mr. Butler, how do you feel about the verdict? Ryan's voice was calm and measured. Justice has been served. That's all I have to say on the matter. As he made his way through the crowd, Ryan caught sight of Hannah being ushered into a waiting car. Their eyes met for a brief moment. In hers, he saw a mixture of anger, desperation, and something else, perhaps the realization of what she had lost. Ryan turned away, focusing on the road ahead. He had a new life to build. Weeks later, Ryan stood in his new office, boxes still unpacked around him. The view from the window showcased a different city skyline, a fresh start. His phone buzzed with a message from Kimberly. "How's the new job? We miss you already." Ryan smiled as he typed his reply. "It's a challenge, but that's exactly what I needed. Miss you too, sis." As he set the phone down, Ryan's eyes fell on a framed photo on his desk. It showed him with his parents, taken just months before their passing. He picked it up, his thumb tracing their smiling faces. "I did it," he whispered. "I made things right." A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. His new assistant poked her head in. "Mr. Butler? Your 2 o'clock is here." Ryan set down the photo, straightened his tie, and stood. "Thank you, Sarah. Send them in." As he prepared to greet his new clients, Ryan felt a sense of purpose wash over him. The past was behind him, and the future, with all its possibilities, lay ahead. Epilogue. 3 years passed, each day taking Ryan further from the pain and betrayal of his past. His new firm had flourished, quickly gaining a reputation for innovative designs and uncompromising integrity. Ryan found himself respected in his field, his name mentioned in the same breath as architecture's brightest stars. On a rainy evening, Ryan sat in his penthouse apartment, going over plans for his latest project. The soft patter of raindrops against the windows provided a soothing backdrop to his work. A sudden knock at the door startled him from his concentration. Frowning, Ryan checked his watch. It was past 9 p.m., far too late for any expected visitors. As he opened the door, the sight before him made him freeze. Hannah stood in the hallway, a far cry from the polished, confident woman she'd once been. Her clothes were worn, her once perfect hair now lank and unkempt. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, which looked up at Ryan with a mixture of desperation and hope. "Ryan," she breathed, her voice cracking. I need to talk to you." For a moment, Ryan said nothing, simply taking in the sight of his ex-wife. Then, wordlessly, he stepped aside, allowing her to enter. Hannah stumbled into the apartment, her eyes darting around, taking in the evidence of Ryan's success. When she turned to face him, her face crumpled. "I'm so sorry, Ryan," she sobbed. "I was wrong. So terribly wrong. I've lost everything, my job, my friends. Bobby's in jail. I have nothing left." She stepped towards him, hands outstretched pleadingly. "I know I don't deserve it, but please, can you find it in your heart to forgive me? To give me another chance?" Ryan listened silently, his face impassive. He could see the Hannah he'd once loved in this broken woman before him, but he also remembered the calculating manipulator she'd revealed herself to be. When Hannah finished, tears streaming down her face, Ryan finally spoke. His voice was calm, devoid of anger, but also of warmth. "Goodbye, Hannah." With that, he opened the door, gesturing for her to leave. Hannah's face crumpled anew as she realized the finality of his words. She shuffled past him, pausing in the hallway to look back one last time. But Ryan had already closed the door. As Hannah's sobs faded down the hallway, Ryan turned back to his apartment. He walked to the window, looking out at the rain-soaked city below. A small smile played on his lips, not one of joy at Hannah's suffering, but of satisfaction. Justice, in its own way, had been served. The wheel had turned, and those who had sought to destroy him had ultimately destroyed themselves. Ryan returned to his desk, to the plans that represented his future. He had built a new life from the ashes of betrayal, and he wouldn't let the ghosts of his past haunt him any longer. As he immersed himself in his work, Ryan felt a sense of peace wash over him. He had survived, he had thrived, and now, finally, he was free.